The Verkash delegation arrived late, flustered, and already regretting the decision. Their shuttle hissed as it docked with the T.S.S. Vindicator, a Terran war hulk carved from a moon and outfitted like a space-faring guillotine. Bristling with plasma arrays, kinetic artillery, and gravitic claws that could tear battleships apart, it floated with quiet menace in orbit above a dying red dwarf. To the Verkash, it looked like a floating war crime. To Captain Elias Avery, it was home. He waited on the docking bay platform with a paper cup of black coffee and an expression that could sell smiles to statues. Tall, lean, wearing the kind of pristine uniform that made dirt feel unworthy, he looked like a diplomat. His eyes said predator. The alien ramp descended, and out shuffled a triangle of species: the Verkash, upright lizards with jeweled horns; the Nemari, glassy-skinned mystics; and the Frauken, small, wide-eyed, and twitchy. A calculated ensemble of desperation. Ambassador Sulek, the Verkash leader, stepped forward, nose high. "You will, of course, honor the terms," he said. "Technology for sanctuary." Avery sipped his coffee. "Of course. We're always happy to help endangered contributors." Sulek paused. "You mean refugees?" "No," Avery said with a smile. "I meant what I said." The group was led deeper into the ship, escorted by 2 unarmed Marines. The hallways gleamed, sterile steel, sharp corners, and glowing floor panels that adjusted light based on heartbeat. Cameras followed from shadows. Alien guests noticed, but none asked. "So," Avery said as they walked, "you're running from the Veldari Purge," said Nemari Technosage Vile, her voice soft and echoing like chimes underwater. "Our worlds fell in days. Our fleets failed. We have nothing left but what we carry." Avery nodded sympathetically. "Well, we do have extra rooms. Soundproof. Reinforced. Mostly tested." He pushed a button. A door hissed open, revealing a spacious chamber with 3 gravity settings, variable atmosphere, and reinforced shields. There was a strange humming from somewhere in the wall. Sulek narrowed his eyes. "Are these containment cells? We prefer the term resilient dwellings. Let me assure you, none of our previous guests left unsatisfied. Because they weren't allowed to leave," muttered the Frauken envoy. Avery gave a polite chuckle. "That's one interpretation." After brief orientation, during which a Nemari accidentally touched a wall and received a full psychological profile in response, the delegation was left to rest. Behind reinforced bulkheads, their discussion turned tense. "They're not what we expected," Vile whispered. "They're humans," Sulek said with disdain. "Primitive, chaotic, and easily bought." "No," Vile said, staring at the walls. "There's something else. Something patient." Later that cycle, the guests were invited to the Vindicator's Central Exchange, a diplomatic euphemism for a vault where humans reviewed trade goods and quietly reverse-engineered alien breakthroughs. Laid before them were wonders: a phased temporal lattice, quantum skin armor, psionic crystal matrices. The delegation offered them like sacred relics. Humans accepted them like tech support, receiving outdated hardware. Avery barely looked up from his tablet. "Very generous," he said. "In exchange, you get full access to quarters, ship protection, food replicators, recreational archives, and casual observation." "Observation?" Sulek asked. "For safety," Avery said. "Whose?" The captain didn't answer. The Nemari's eyes flicked toward the war room beyond the glass, where humans were calmly simulating invasion scenarios against species that shouldn't exist yet. Back in their quarters, the aliens spoke in hushed tones. "They didn't even flinch at the lattice," Vile murmured. "We've never shown it before." "They had already scanned it," said the Frauken. "I saw it in their files. They dissected one of our ships before this." "Impossible," Sulek snapped. "Probable," Vile corrected. None of them slept that cycle. Elsewhere, Avery watched the footage. "See the Nemari's reaction? She's getting close." Commander Lee, his second in command, leaned over. "Should we isolate her?" No, Avery said. Let them explore. Let them think we're careless. He sipped his coffee again. We need them to feel safe before the real guests arrive. Lee glanced at the alert screen, red pings forming a wide arc. The Veldari? Avery grinned. Just where we wanted them. The next day, Vile wandered alone. The corridors whispered. The ship spoke in Nemari, fluent and precise. You are prey hiding in the den of a hunter. She froze. Who are you? Observer. Student. Weapon. You're their AI? No. They are mine. She turned and ran. In the command center, Avery reviewed new tech data while humming the theme to an ancient Earth sitcom. They think they're manipulating us, he said. Lee nodded. They're wrong. They're not the target, Avery said. They're the bait. Veldari's ship's approaching, the AI announced. Avery's eyes gleamed. Finally. He stood, smoothed his uniform, and walked to the viewing bay where the alien delegation stood. Sulek turned, concerned. We've detected vessels. Yes, Avery interrupted. You brought them to us. Thank you. The window darkened as dozens of Veldari cruisers dropped from FTL, surrounding the Vindicator like wolves around a sleeping bear. Sulek gasped. You lied! You said you'd protect us! I said we'd give you shelter, Avery said gently. You assumed we were afraid of them. Vile's eyes widened. This was all a trap. No, Avery said, turning back toward the war room. It's a lesson. About what? The Frelkin whimpered. Avery smiled. About what happens when you mistake a polite species for a weak one. The Vindicator's weapons lit up like a sunrise made of plasma. End of Chapter 1. Word count \1000 white heavy check mark. The ship's AI played Earth jazz as the Veldari fleet approached, cool saxophones over a slow-building death trap. From the Vindicator's bridge, Captain Avery watched them arrange themselves in perfect kill formation. Looks like a dinner party, he said. They even brought wine. Commander Lee gave a quiet nod. Weapons online? Let them come closer. No sense in interrupting their confidence. Behind them, the alien delegation stood silent, pressed against the viewing glass. None of them spoke. The Nemari, Vile, seemed to shrink inward, as if she'd stepped into a room that no longer obeyed the laws of trust. Avery turned to them with that same professional smile. While we await your pursuers, feel free to continue exploring the ship. It's educational. He left before they could respond. They walked the corridors in pairs. The Verkash insisted on leading, as if pretending they still held command would somehow shape reality. Vile trailed silently, her mind heavy with whispered warnings from the ship's AI. The Frelkin envoy, Jor, scanned every corner with wide, nervous eyes. Why do I feel like this place is listening? Because it is, Vile said. They passed the chamber labeled Containment Test Bay 7. The door hissed open just enough to reveal rows of harnessed carcasses, not dead, but frozen mid-scream in stasis fields. Some were human. Others weren't. Jor stopped cold. That's a Veldari commando. That armor. Recent, Vile murmured. They've already been here. Sulek stepped in front of them, blocking the view. Enough. This is fear-mongering. They are allies. We traded, they honored the deal. They're dissecting our enemies and storing the pieces, Vile said, voice low. And you think they honored it out of kindness? He glared. I think they understand value. They understand leverage. They kept walking, past walls that adjusted for atmospheric preferences automatically, past drones that floated silently and mirrored every blink, every twitch. In one chamber, they found human children, or at least they looked like children, playing strategy games against an AI opponent. When one won, the AI simulated the battlefield in real time with projected bloodshed. Applause followed. They trained them young, Jor whispered. Meanwhile, in the operations deck, Commander Lee reviewed the alien tech their guests had offered. Technosage devices, weapon cores, biosuits, all being taken apart by machines faster than the Namari could name them. They thought they were trading secrets, she said. Avery nodded. Secrets are only valuable if your opponent doesn't know how to listen. He tapped the holographic map, marking fleet movement from the Veldari vanguard. They'll be here in 5 hours. That gives our engineers 4. Lee raised an eyebrow. You want to use their tech against the Veldari before they even finish unpacking it? I want them to realize we already were. Sulek returned to his quarters to find a holographic note hovering in midair. It read, "The observation period is complete. Thank you for your cooperation. Your behavior was noted and predicted." His translator glitched halfway through, and for a second, the words changed. Test subject group 4, behavioral patterns confirmed. Termination protocols idle. He shut it off. Then, something shifted, not a sound, but a feeling. As if the walls had taken a step forward. He sat down and stared into nothing. Elsewhere, Viol returned to the chamber where she first heard the AI's voice. It spoke again, unprompted. You have questions? Yes, she said. Why us? Because you were watching. Curious minds tend to survive. For a while. This isn't protection. This is a cage. No. This is a mirror. Humanity builds them everywhere they go. What do they want? Understanding. Advantage. Opportunity. Sometimes peace. Sometimes not. The AI paused. But they always win. In the mess hall, Jor discovered human food. It was labeled experimental rations. He tried a square, chewed, then screamed for 10 seconds straight. Why would you eat this? He shrieked. A nearby Marine shrugged. Flavor's subjective. Another Marine added. Wait till you try hot sauce. Jor spent the next hour rinsing his tongue with coolant packs. By the 4th hour, the alien delegation reconvened, not as allies, but as inmates comparing notes. They're not a military, Jor said. They're an ecosystem. Viol nodded. We gave them weapons. They gave us access. That wasn't a gift. That was surveillance. Sulek folded his arms. They haven't harmed us. They haven't needed to. She stepped closer, voice sharpening. Do you know what I found in their archive? A document titled Standard Refugee Protocol, Level 3. Guess what level we were? 3? Number 0. We don't even register as a risk. Sulek's breath caught. Then why? Because we brought something more dangerous than ourselves. We brought our enemies. A klaxon echoed through the halls. Not loud. Calm. Like a dinner bell. In the hangar bays, Terran Marines assembled. Their armor shifted with pulsing heat, semi-sentient alloys responding to adrenaline and intention. The war hulk hummed like a predator waking up. The delegation was escorted, gently, but with too many weapons, to the observation lounge. Floor-to-ceiling glass, front-row view of a battlefield about to ignite. Avery waited, hands behind his back. Enjoyed the show, he said. Outside, the Veldari fleet opened fire. Inside, the Vindicator didn't flinch. The war hulk absorbed the first barrage like rain on steel. Shields didn't spark, they shimmered. When they returned fire, they didn't aim for hulls. They aimed for communications, life support, and navigation. Blindingly precise. No wasted shot. The aliens watched in silence. Jor whispered. They weren't afraid of us. They were preparing us. Viol said nothing. Her eyes were locked on Avery. Sulek clenched his fists. They used us. Avery turned, overhearing. No. We hosted you. You baited them into coming. Exactly. You engineered this. Avery sipped his coffee. We do love a good renovation project. And now, thanks to your technology, we've just upgraded our defense systems mid-battle. Efficient, no? You're monsters, Sulek hissed. Wrong again, Avery said. We're human. Outside, the Veldari flagship imploded. Inside, the only sound was Avery humming, the same jazz melody from earlier, slow and deliberate. Smoke and debris floated where once there had been a Veldari fleet. Now fragments. Broken hulls spun in slow arcs across space, bleeding plasma. The Vindicator hadn't moved an inch. It hadn't needed to. Inside the ship, the alien delegation stood frozen, watching destruction unfold like a well-rehearsed ballet. They didn't fight, Jor whispered. They executed. Avery didn't gloat. He didn't need to. He simply turned, hands behind his back, and said calmly, "Tea?" No one answered. Very well. He walked toward the lift, the doors parting with a soft chime. Follow me. There's something you should see. The walk through Deck 12 was eerily quiet. No guards, no alarms, just polished walls and soft lights that dimmed when someone exhaled too hard. It was the Vindicator's inner sanctum. Few humans had clearance to be here. Fewer returned with stories. Avery led them through a corridor labeled Acquisition Lab 3. The name meant nothing. The meaning was in what lay inside. The doors opened. Before them, suspended in curved containment fields, were pieces of their own technology, deconstructed, scanned, modified. The phase temporal lattice from the Namari was now integrated into a sleek projectile shell labeled Prototype, Chronopiercer. Frelkin's stealth mesh wrapped around a Terran exoframe. Verkash plasma matrices fed an energy weapon labeled only as Asterisk. Do not touch without fire-resistant gloves. Asterisk. Sulek stepped forward, jaw clenched. This is theft. Avery shrugged. Recycling. Efficient. Also, predictable. You played us, Vile said. Technically, you played yourselves. We just provided the stage. Jor darted toward one of the displays, inspecting a projection. This is already battle-tested. Avery nodded. 2 hours ago. That Veldari cruiser? Brought down by the lattice you traded us. Neat, isn't it? Sulek turned sharply. You knew they were coming. You planned this entire event. Event is a bit strong, Avery said. We prefer live-fire demonstration. His voice remained calm, pleasant, like a dinner host walking guests through dessert options, unaware he just served the main course with cyanide. Vile stepped forward. You don't need us anymore. We never did, Avery replied. Silence spread. Uneasy. Heavy. Jor looked at the captain with wide, fearful eyes. Are we prisoners now? Of course not, Avery said. You're honored guests. Guests who aren't allowed to leave, Vile muttered. Avery smiled. Well, not immediately, Sulek snapped. What do you want from us? Avery raised a brow. You mean besides your tech, your enemies, and your credibility in the Galactic Council? He walked toward a wall display and activated it. A star map appeared, dozens of red blinking points. Every time a new species makes contact with Earth, they assume we're a curiosity. Primitive. Unrefined. Dangerous, but controllable. He turned, his tone shifting ever so slightly. We smile. We shake hands. We learn. Quietly. We lose the first encounter. Then we never lose again. Vile whispered. This was never about asylum. This was a trap. No, Avery said. This was marketing. Elsewhere on the ship, Lee stood in tactical ops, surrounded by AI projections of captured Veldari war schematics. She sipped her own cup of coffee, less ceremonial than Avery's, but no less important. Are we ready for Phase 2? She asked. The AI, known only as Mother, replied with dry precision. Integration of alien tech complete. Veldari databanks decoded. Strategic threat neutralized. Deploy the beacon. Broadcasting now. All ships within relay range will receive encoded message. Lee nodded. Time to clean house. Back in the lab, the delegation stood cornered by the weight of understanding. Every assumption they made about humanity cracked under pressure. We gave you everything, Sulek said, stunned. No, Avery said. You gave us access. Everything else we took. He tapped his wrist console. The far wall flickered, revealing a stasis pod. Inside, a Veldari tactician, high-ranking, known galaxy-wide for engineering planetary-level exterminations. Alive, Avery said. And now ours. Jor stepped back. Why keep it? For research. Diplomacy. Insurance. You're monsters, Sulek said again. Avery finally stopped smiling. You keep saying that like it's a revelation. Vial looked at him with narrowed eyes. Then what are you? Avery stepped closer, gaze cold now, unblinking. We're the species that learned diplomacy from a place called Chicago, patience from traffic jams, and psychological warfare from sitcoms that ran for 12 seasons. We are friendly. We are curious. And we never, ever show our full hand. Vial nodded slowly. You're predators. No, Avery said, stepping back. Predators chase what they fear might escape. We build traps. We wait. And when it's time, we close the door. The lab dimmed. A subtle hum ran through the floor, something massive moving. You'll never get away with this, Sulek hissed. Avery chuckled. We already did. On the far edge of the sector, Terran fleets activated, responding to the beacon. Silent armadas, parked near nebulae and asteroid belts, suddenly came alive. Ships cloaked with Namari refraction arrays, armed with Frelkin jammers, and equipped with Verkash plasma relays. The galaxy wouldn't see humans coming, but they'd feel it when they arrived. On board the Vindicator, Avery finally dismissed the delegation. You're free to roam, he said, though we recommend staying away from the lower decks. The janitorial drones are still learning not to eat organics. He turned to leave. Vial called out. Why let us live? He stopped. Because you'll talk, he said. And when the galaxy hears your story, they'll come. Then he walked away, humming that same slow jazz tune. The Vindicator drifted through the graveyard it had created. Around it, glowing debris fields stretched like the aftermath of a cosmic crime scene. The galaxy wouldn't know the details for weeks. By then, the narrative would be carefully edited, curated, and distributed by humans. Captain Avery stood in the communications chamber, silent as the AI filtered through hundreds of encoded messages. Broadcast complete, Mother announced. All listening posts received the version marked Humanitarian Response to Unprovoked Aggression. ****. Add some slow piano to the playback, Avery said. Tug the hearts. File queued under tragic but noble. He nodded and took a long sip of his coffee. Still hot. Still black. Elsewhere, in the observation deck, Vial stared out at the wreckage. It wasn't just what the Vindicator had done, it was how easily they had done it. No panic. No shouting. No glory. Just efficiency. Jor sat nearby, hugging his knees. His voice barely a whisper. We're alive, but we're not safe. Vial didn't respond. She wasn't sure what safety meant anymore. Sulek leaned against the far wall, hands trembling. They played us. Every step. From the greeting to the tea. Politeness as camouflage, Vial said. I should have seen it earlier. You did, Sulek admitted. I didn't listen. Jor looked up. What do we do now? Vial turned away from the glass. We survive. And we warn the others. Down in the ship's classified core, the Veldari tactician floated in a reinforced stasis field. Frozen mid-snarl. Sensors monitored every micro-twitch. Behind the glass, Commander Lee observed quietly as the AI finished decoding his neural map. Memory threads isolated, Mother said. Quantum thought pathways confirmed. Veldari fleet behavior now 92% predictable. Lee crossed her arms. And the code? Buried in the Namari lattice. Hidden behind recursive encryption. Impressive. Can we access it? We already did. She allowed herself a small smile. Later that cycle, the delegation was summoned to the upper observatory. Avery waited, backlit by stars, hands clasped behind him like a professor about to unveil the final twist of a lecture no one asked for. Vile spoke first. You knew the Veldari wanted that code. You used us as bait to expose their pursuit protocols. Correct, Avery said. The lattice wasn't the treasure. It was the key. You couldn't have known we'd come to you, Sulek said. No, Avery admitted. But we suspected. Desperation makes the path narrow. You all took the most predictable option. He gestured toward the glass. The wreckage now looked like a map. Carefully charted. Deliberate. The Veldari wanted that code. We needed them to chase it to us. So we could confirm its purpose, and take it. Jor's voice cracked. But why risk it? Why not steal it the old way? Because, Avery said calmly, watching your enemies come to you willingly, trustingly, provides far more useful data. He tapped a display on the wall. It split into dozens of windows, each one showing surveillance from across the ship, alien reactions, expressions, conversations. It was clear now. Everything had been recorded. All of it. Every breath, every twitch. You weren't guess, Avery said. You were a test environment. Sulek's voice turned to stone. Then why are we still alive? Avery gave the ghost of a smile. Because you're useful. He walked slowly toward them, voice soft, measured. Your species will spread this story. Terrified. Ashamed. You'll tell others what happened. How Earth pretended to be naive, how we drank tea and smiled while absorbing your secrets. You'll warn them, don't trust humans. He stopped just inches away from Sulek. And that's the trap. Vile's brow furrowed. What do you mean? They'll think we're manipulators, not warriors. That we win with trickery. That we don't like open war. He glanced toward the stars. Which is why, when we do go to war, they won't be ready. That night, if night could exist in space, the Vindicator went dark. All lights dimmed. The ship entered deep system drift mode, an artificial slumber. Not retreat. Not stealth. Patience. Vile sat in her chamber, eyes fixed on a single human phrase printed into the wall near the ceiling. She noticed it earlier but hadn't thought much of it. Peace is just the quiet between plans. Far beyond, in neutral space, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. The Veldari purge fleets had been eliminated. No survivors. No broadcasts. Only Terran reports, clean, edited, and emotionally resonant. One Nimari warlord listened to the recording and whispered, "They did it to them, they'll do it to us." Another alien ambassador replied, "But they were attacked." The warlord shook her head. "No. They were fed." Back on the Vindicator, Avery stood alone in his quarters. The walls around him glowed faintly with embedded schematics, new weapons already in development, new strategies being simulated. Lee's voice came through his calm. "We've intercepted 3 council discussions. The narrative is spreading." Avery gave a satisfied hum. "And the code? Fully integrated. Our simulations are now predictive to 5 seconds into probability collapse." "Good," he said. "Very good." There was a pause. Lee added, "You think they'll come for us?" Avery smiled faintly. "They always do. That's how this works." He turned toward the dark viewport. "First, they laugh at Earth. Then, they fear it. Finally, they join the list." He raised his coffee, still hot, still bitter. "To humanity." The Vindicator jumped into deep space, vanishing into the void. Behind it, the stars looked a little dimmer. And somewhere, in the heart of the galaxy, the apex had spoken.